My name is Robin Bogart, and I'm here today from my loft studio in Waterloo, Ontario. My website is www.quiltingintheloft.com. And a few weeks ago, we talked about making some she sheds post-pandemic, or well, we're not really past it yet, but making the she shed blocks. And today I'm going to talk to you about HRT, which equals half rectangle triangles. I'm going to show you some really neat tricks and techniques on how to make them so much easier. They are, full disclosure, a little more challenging than half square triangles, but they are so versatile. They're very modern, and I think I've mastered the easiest way to make them. And as I go through the demonstration today, I'll explain to you some tips to make it much easier. Before I get started today, I just wanted to share with you some basic supplies that you'll need to get going with your half rectangle triangles. And this is the table runner that I made with my half rectangle triangles. Just want to not just try the half rectangle triangles, but I want to make something with it. So I made the table runner. So you'll see that. There is a group of fabric that you might want to try. I have a light, medium, and dark in one colorway and a light, medium, and dark in another colorway. So I actually use 6 fabrics. This is Fabric Creations cotton, and also a brayer or a seam roller, which is from Clover. I use either a purple air erasable marker or a blue washout marker as well. And then I have a wool felt ironing mat, a little Clover iron just for convenience because I'm right by my sewing machine. You can use your regular iron if you want to, but this is also great for travel. An Olfa rotary cutter, my little OmniGrid 4x8 ruler. This is a fantastic ruler. The size seems to work for a lot of piecing. And then I also have a rotating cutting mat. It's by Olfa as well. And the other little magic ingredient that you're going to need today is the Reynolds freezer paper. This is a little tip that I have figured out on my own that works really great for these half rectangle triangles. Also, I want to mention there is a post, depending on your learning style today, I'm going to be doing a demonstration, but there's also a written post on quiltsocial.com, April 12th to 16th, that's all about, in writing, all the steps for this particular demo today. We're at the fun part now. We're going to actually make the half rectangle triangles. And I wanted to show you our project again. It's the table runner. You could make this into a quilt, and I'm going to show you later some examples of how to do that. But today we're going to get to the half rectangle triangles. As I indicated before, they are a little more difficult than a half square triangle, but just a little bit of a trick. The first step is obviously cutting your fabric, and you'll have a cut size, a trim size, and then a finish size. Most of the time we have a cut and a finish size. We don't have the trim size. The trimming is what makes it so much easier to work with half rectangle triangles. So mine are cut 3.5 by 5.5, and I'm making 2 at a time, so it's much easier. We're actually making blocks a little faster. 2 half rectangle triangles, or HRTs, at a time. So mine are cut 3.5 by 5.5, and if you notice, I have some directionality going on here, and that's what you have to pay attention to with half rectangle triangles. There's directionality involved because they are longer, and they're longer than they are wider. So, and depending on how you're going to lay out, there's some directionality. It is the light blocks that are directed differently, and I'll show you by going like that. You can see that they go differently. So when you lay them out and mark them for cutting, they have to be laid differently. So I have these laid in the opposite direction because that's the way they work in this particular block. As you can see, I'm missing the peach here and the peach here for these 2 blocks to show you how they go together. So what I'm going to do, I have already drawn a line down the center of one of the light ones to show you with the blue washout marker, which is right here. and I've sewn a stitch on either side. I'm just gonna go through that example again, just to show you exactly what I'm doing. It's a really weird layout, the way that they're laid. If you were working with half square triangles, you'd have it like this, and you'd have a line through it. It doesn't not work that way, because then you get this really weird kite shape. You don't want a weird kite shape, so you have to lay them this way, okay? And this is the, sorry, I gotta get it right here. This is the right angle. And then what you're gonna do is lay it corner to corner on top of the light fabric, right side down on top of the darker fabric. And you're gonna draw a line right through the center with your washout marker, or you can use your purple fade out marker as well, just like that. And then what I like to do is take a pin and pin a couple of spots along the way, just to make sure that it does not move. Fairly close to the corner, so that we get corner to corner a really nice sewing line. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'm going to take it to the machine. And I have Connecting Threads Essential cotton thread in my machine. It might help if I had my feed dogs. There we go. And I have a leader piece of fabric in, just so that my strong feed dogs don't pull the thread down. And I'm sewing with my foot on the edge of the blue line. And I've got a 1/4 inch foot in, so I'm able to make that 1/4 inch seam allowance work. And I'm taking out my pins as I go. They're just there to secure it so I get an accurate 1/4 inch away from the center. Just gonna turn this one around and work on the other side. So my foot is right against the blue line, and I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So this is the missing piece of the puzzle for those 2 blocks that I showed you. And I'm just going to trim down the center line here. And then I'll be pressing the block. And you'll see that it looks like a half rectangle triangle. And so I've made 2 at a time, as you can see. They look funny, but that's the way that half rectangle triangles look. So they're not like a half square triangle at all. And I'm just ironing it with my Clover mini iron. And I'll do the other one. And if you notice, I am ironing towards the darker fabric, just so that we don't get shadowing with our actual quilt block. Then I'm going to show you another trick. Okay, so I have these beautiful blocks here. I could also kind of use my brayer and flatten out the seam. It's on the bias, so you do have to be careful that you don't stretch it. What I've done is I've cut out a 2.5 by 4.5 trim template, which is made from freezer paper. It has a shiny side and it has a matte side. You want to lay the shiny side down. And I've written, I don't know if you noticed it, but I've made some little arrows in each corner. That's to help me line up the actual rectangle, okay? And you'll see that I'm going to line it up, and you'll, on the line, on the bias line. And then what I'm going to do is press it really good, some heat, add some heat. And the bit of wax to the shiny side of the freezer paper will actually adhere to the fabric. And it's shiny side down. I'm going to really give it some heat here. Shiny side down to the right side of the fabric. And it'll adhere slightly. Just gonna make sure it sticks a little bit anyways. And then we're gonna take it over to, you can also just use paper. If you don't have freezer paper, you can also use paper. I just find this sticks a little bit and it stays better. And I use those little arrow marks that in the corners to help me line it up. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna square up my fabric. And you can use your turntable to move your ruler around. So that you're not having to lift your fabric. it's much more, it's sort of like ergonomics, I guess we would say. It's easier to get the ruler lined up and your rotary cutter lined up. Okay, and there you have it. This adheres a little bit with the heat. If you have a hotter iron, it will adhere quite well. It won't stick permanently though, but there's our finished piece, which needs to go, as you can see, one needs to go here. I'll cut another one. I'll trim up another one again. I'm lining up the arrows in the corner here. You can see that. I'm going to just give this a bit of a press just to help it stick a little bit. And my iron's hot enough now that it's starting to stick a little bit better. And then I'm just going to iron this. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut this one. This ends up being 2.5 by 4.5 inches trimmed up. And it started out 3.5 by 5.5. So you are making a bit of waste, but you're making an accurate block by doing it this way. And I shouldn't have been lifting, I should have been turning this around. Okay. Just do another little trim because I see I didn't get quite as close to the paper as I'd like it to be. And there you have it. It's done. And that's the block. And you'll notice that it doesn't match quite in the corners, and that's okay. That's the way that they work out. They will go together like a dream if you do it this way. So there you have the two blocks. And then I would sew this row together and this row together, this row and this row, and then put them both together. So you end up with this piece here. And then you can see that I have this piece repeated 4 times. Well, yeah, 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. I promised earlier that I would show you some alternate layouts for the half rectangle triangle quilt. So today we were making the table runner, and on quiltsocial.com, April 12th to 16th, I've actually done a written demonstration on how to do this. So depending on your learning style, today there was a demonstration, a physical demonstration, but there's also a written demonstration for those that prefer that. They can read through it and figure out how to make it. I also wanted to talk about how else you can use these particular blocks. And on Electric Quilt, I designed this one. It's a modern quilt. It's asymmetrical, and you're just going to make more of the blocks to make it elongated so that it actually makes into a quilt, queen size quilt. Actually, this is 84 by 88 finished. You could also make a lot of these HRTs and become a master at your half rectangle triangles and fill in an entire quilt. Again, 84 by 88 inches. Or you could alternate the blocks and have a blank block in between and have it as an opportunity to practice your quilting skills. And then I just wanted to show you the actual layout I did originally. This is how it all started with the half rectangle triangles. And as you notice, I put right, right, left, left, right, right. That explains to me that the diagonal lines, what direction they're going in, either to the left or to the right. Okay, so it's a little trick to figure out, when you're working with half rectangle triangles, they're directional. Just mark it on your little pattern that you have. Okay. I wanted to mention as well that I have a chart which has the cutting size, the trim size, and then the finished, and that is the sewn in size to the quilt. That chart will be on my website. It's a free PDF download. It's www.quiltingintheloft.com. All the links for Instagram, Facebook, my website, and quiltsocial.com will be in the description below, attached to the description below. Also, I wanted to say, have a great day, stay safe, and sew happy. you.